least 67 countries in the world that consider drug use and for personal possession to be crimes, decriminalization can often be regarded as the middle ground between legalizing and prohibiting. In terms of decriminalization, the criminal sanctions are not levied when drug consumption and personal possession takes place. However, legalizing eliminates all forms of punishment. I'm Kavya Srinivasan, a first-year common law student, and today let's take a deeper look into drug decriminalization. In today's talk, we'll be discussing about the desperate need for drug policy reform and the various suggestions proposed for it, debates surrounding drug decriminalization, drugs and the economy, case study of Portugal that decriminalized drugs in 2001, conclusions and suggestions. There has been a desperate need for drug policy reform. Poorly thought out drug policies, the prosecution of drug users, growers, and other low-level players have contributed to social exclusion, health problem, and mass incarceration all over the world. The present regulations on drugs have massively failed because of a variety of reasons, which we'll be discussing right now. The first one being health concerns. In the United States, drug overdose has been the biggest cause of injury-related death in 2019, according to the Center for Disease Control, with over 70,000 fatalities. Drug laws that have been tough on drugs restrict users from life-saving treatment like opioid substitution, needle exchange, etc. This puts the addicts who are in desperate need of help and support away from the treatment. The second concern is mass incarceration. Around the world, 1 in 5 inmates are there for drug-related offenses, and most of them for simple personal possession. Another reason why we need to reform the existing drug policies is prosecution. Globally, 3,000 people are executed for drug-related charges. Between 2008 and 2018, more than 4,000 people have been sentenced to death for drug-related crimes. And lastly, fund drain. The global cost of policing and seizing illicit drugs exceeds $100 billion annually. It can be often argued that this money could be put to better use, such as to broaden social assistance, health concerns, etc. There have been numerous proposals offered to curb these issues. The first one being decriminalization, which is today's topic, where criminal sanctions are not levied on the consumption or the personal possession of drugs. Another suggestion which has been offered is regulation, whereby there's a controlled drug market and it is permissible and legal to buy and sell narcotics under certain circumstances. Decriminalization can also have severe impact on the economy as well. Governments at all levels spend approximately $100 billion to curb drug issues, out of which $35 billion specifically goes into criminal justice and law enforcement initiatives. According to a study, the cost of drug-related crime is projected to be $3 billion yearly in USA and $61 billion in the United States. Drugs may have a severe impact on a person's health, and this may lead to higher hospital costs, higher healthcare expenses, greater mortality and morbidity rates. It has been shown that one out of every 6 problem drug users receive the required treatment, which is approximately 4.5 million people in the world, and the others are not treated well. And the global cost of treatment exceeds approximately $35 billion annually, which can be directly correlated with the constraints placed on the judicial system. There has been an ever-growing debate surrounding drug decriminalization. Some argue that drugs should be decriminalized, while others argue that it should not. Many suggest drug use is a victimless crime, which means only the user is at risk. The government has no right to impose restrictions on the life of consenting adults. It should rather be a personal choice on whether or not to consume drugs. A legalized drug market might generate tax income for the government. The US state of Colorado claimed in June 2019 that since legalization of drugs in 2014, there has been an ever-increasing sales in cannabis, and it has surpassed $1 billion. Legalizing marijuana in the UK, according to Liberal Democrats, could bring in similar effects. In addition, not having to spend as much money and time policing the illicit drug trade could result in significant finance and resource saving. Many believe that drugs could be used for medicinal purposes, such as cannabis. A widely believed opinion is that it would be simpler to treat addicts if drugs were legal. Drug addiction should be handled as a medical problem rather than a legal one. If buying and possessing narcotics is prohibited, addicts are pushed underground, and the legalizing of drugs should rather be accompanied with improved avenues for recovery and assistance for addicts. However, since everything has two sides, contrary to the previous statements, there have been numerous concerns that legalizing more dangerous substances like heroin would only increase addiction and fatalities. Softer drugs would start serving as a getaway from more hazardous ones. Many are worried that drug gangs might begin operating if the government highly taxed the market for legalized substances, which could in turn create a black market. People are also concerned that drug addicts might go to places where drugs are decriminalized or legal. One popular theory, which many people who favor prohibition state that, is that in case drugs were legal, it would give out the wrong social message saying that drugs are a socially acceptable practice. And they would also give out a message that using drugs is safe, while there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. To understand decriminalization better, let us look at the case study of Portugal. It decriminalized personal possession of all narcotic substances in 2001 as part of a policy shift with a focus on health. Instead of carrying a prison sentence or earning a criminal record and the attendant stigma that comes along, drug possession for personal use is now considered an administrative offense, which means it is punishable but only through fines or community service. Portugal's decriminalized drug policy has been cited proof that softening drug laws does not increase illicit drug use and the consequences of drug use. This contention is primarily based on the findings in a 2009 Cato Institute Report 1. Although the findings seem positive, the conclusions always show that these policies are characterized by ambiguities and contradiction that have existed throughout its history. Drug users have been the target of harsher punishment in the past 10 years, including jail sentences. Drug use is eluding its reputation as a phenomenon that occurs at the margin of society as a result of Portuguese socio-cultural transition and the diversity of drug use patterns, which was noted later in Portugal, but was somehow still identical to the primary European trends. To conclude, it can be noted that drug decriminalization is a subject that is to be handled with utmost caution. Few noteworthy suggestions that have been offered are, when pursuing decriminalization through threshold restrictions, nations or states should establish maximum quantity thresholds that take local drug use into account. The policy may have no effect or may lengthen or increase the number of incarcerations if the threshold limitations are set too low. The expansion of harm reduction and treatment initiatives, including medical assisted treatments, should go hand in hand with the decriminalization measures. States should, at the very least, designate possession of illegal narcotics as a misdemeanor or as an infraction to mitigate the severe repercussions that come along with a felony conviction in the absence of decriminalization. Thank you for your time, and I would like to extend my gratitude to the team of Let's Talk About and my mentor, Ms. Josephine Zimba. Thank you so much.